Hello everybody, my name is Tom and I'm back to talk to you about Formula One Fantasy. We are down under this weekend and we've just had first practice and second practice, and I've had a look at everything that's gone on in the first and second practice, and in this video I'm going to talk to you about my thoughts over what's happened, take into account as much as I can, and look at who I think the optimal team is for this coming weekend for your fantasy teams, or more specifically my fantasy team, but I'm hoping me choosing my fantasy team is going to help you pick your fantasy team. So yeah, I'm going to go through all what I'm thinking at the moment, and I know it's a very early start tomorrow. It's going to be getting up about 6 o'clock tomorrow morning in order to watch the qualifying at 7 o'clock my time. But I will try, if I have enough time. I'm not sure I'm going to squeeze this in because it's going to be kind of tight for time, but I'm going to try and post my team in the community tab on my YouTube page. So make sure you're subscribed, and I'm hoping that if I'm not in a mad panic at like 5 to 7 tomorrow morning and the website hasn't crashed, that I will post my team in the community tab, so you guys can see who I've picked. I haven't completely decided yet, but we'll go through my thoughts at the moment and then we'll go from there. So as you can see, I've got the track up here. We're at Albert Park in Australia. And they've added a new DRS zone. So we had 3 DRS zones previously when we raced here a couple of years ago, or 3 years ago now. But they've added this extra DRS zone in here, got rid of the chicane. And before going into the practice sessions, everyone was talking about how this is going to favour the Red Bulls, because we saw in Saudi Arabia how fast the Red Bulls were in a straight line. So if you add more straight lines into the track, it's going to favour the Red Bulls. So naturally we're thinking, oh, how can we squeeze a bit of Red Bull action into our fantasy teams? But we go to the results of what's happened in FP1 and FP2, and who's on top again. It's the Ferraris. Carlos Sainz in FP1, Leclerc in FP2, and followed closely behind again. Leclerc was a 1-2 in FP1, and Sainz down in third place just by a tenth of a second off Verstappen. So the Ferraris are once again looking strong, which is, yeah, it's kind of interesting to see how they're getting on. And Leclerc before practice was saying that he doesn't think that the track characteristics are fitting very well with their car, but they've kind of come along into the practice sessions and done the opposite of what he's saying there. Post practice sessions, I've had a quick look at what Max and Perez have had to say. A couple of quick quotes from them. So Max Verstappen was saying that they think they're a tiny bit off Ferrari, but he does think that we can maybe make it a little bit closer. So he's, it's fairly positive. Like, they think they're, like, as you can see, like from the times, a couple of tenths off or whatever. But Max is looking optimistic that they can make it up. Perez, on the other hand, this is a direct quote from Perez: "We don't really understand what's going on with the car at the moment." So that kind of a bit worrying. Perez is obviously still a good enabler for, coming at 17, whatever he is, 17.7 or whatever million he is at the moment. So I still think Perez is still a good shout in our fantasy team. So I still think Red Bull are going to be strong. I think his negativity is coming more from the fact that he knows that the Ferraris are currently that little bit ahead of them, and he's a bit frustrated about that. And the fact that FP2 he dropped down a little bit, even overtaken by one of the Alpines, which I'm going to talk about in a minute because the Alpines are looking sweet. But overall, I think the Ferraris are definitely looking stronger. That is quite evident in what the Red Bull drivers are saying, and also in the timings at the moment. We obviously have to wait for FP3, see what happens, which is fantastically going to happen in the middle of the night, because that is the nature of the beast of them racing in Australia, and I'm sat here in the UK. So yeah, definitely going to keep a close eye on FP3 when it materialises, and to see who's up to speed, quite literally. But yeah, I think going into picking our teams, we definitely want Ferrari as the constructors for the time being, because the Ferraris are, like I say, looking strong and they're on a race streak. If I just quickly pop in here to my team, go in here, you can see the little flame indicating that Ferrari are on a qualifying streak and a race streak. No one else has that at the moment. Red Bulls are only on a qualifying, Mercedes only on a race streak. So it's really optimal, I think, this week to get the Ferraris in, because there's extra points up for grabs as long as they finish in the top 10 and qualify in the top 10, which is highly likely. Now, before we go any further with my actual team for the weekend, I just want to have a quick look at the actual times and everything that's happened in FP1. So let's have a quick look at who's done well, who's done poorly, who's the surprises, maybe, like good surprises, bad surprises. So I don't know if they're really surprised, but the Alpines are strong again. I know we're waiting for FP3, so we're working with limited information at the moment, but Ocon, P6, really, really consistent there. Alonso in P9 and then jumps up to P4. Alonso had actually set the fastest time of FP2 for a little bit before the other 3 lads up here overtook him. So really interesting, especially now in terms of our team. Alonso now costs less than Ocon, So do we want Alonso in our teams? Like if we hop over to this tab here, we can see Alonso's record in the Australian Grand Prix over the last, like, what, 20 years basically. So in this column right down here at the end, you can see from when he first started racing, you can see all his results here. So 12th, 7th, 3rd, 3rd, 1st, 2nd, 4th, 5th, 4th, 4th, 5th, 2nd, 4th, DNF, DNF, 5th. Those results are really, really consistent, considering he's not in a necessarily in the title-winning car for most of these races, you know. So finishing like several podiums, then just outside the podium, like super consistent. Alonso seems to really, really like this track. Looking at his record. Ocon, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think Ocon's actually raced here in Formula One. So we don't really know exactly how comfortable he is around the track. Obviously, going back to his times, he's looking pretty consistent in P6. But I'm kind of tempted by Alonso this weekend. If we look at, sorry, let's go back to the teams again. If we look at their prices and everything, so you can see Alonso is also picked by 19%. It's actually higher picked than Ocon, which is interesting. I think the more engaged fantasy managers would have picked Ocon recently, but I'm very tempted to go with Fernando, and I keep having this is how I play fantasy games, unfortunately. I can't help myself sometimes. I need to take a punt. I need to take that little risk. I don't know really if it is a little risk. Maybe because Ocon's had the form going into the race, he is just a sensible pick. But like at the beginning of the season, when I was really tempted by Bottas, like late on, and I went for him, paid off. And now I'm like last week I was really tempted by Ocon, it paid off. And this week I'm really tempted by Alonso. But to be honest, I think you can't really go wrong with either of them. So they're very similar price, only a couple of points apart. So, but yeah, I'll decide this tomorrow morning when I wake up bright and early. But yeah, Alonso looking strong. He'll be hungry to beat Ocon this weekend as well. After the racing that went on in Saudi Arabia, they're proper going at it, which was really good to see. So yeah, I'm really tempted by Alonso. I'd be interested to see what you guys think. Have you thought about Alonso at all? Or are you all jumping on the Ocon train? So let me know, please. Right, moving on. Who else has done well? The McLarens have done pretty well. They showed signs of improvement in Saudi Arabia, and you can see Lando Norris popping up in P5 here and P8, and Ricciardo in his home Grand Prix in P8 and P10. So definitely a vast improvement. If we go back, let's have a look in Bahrain as an example. So they ended up qualifying like Daniel down here in 18th, when he averaged a position of 16.7. So yeah, pretty rubbish. Norris as well. We know that McLaren suffered back then, and same in Jeddah as well. Pretty poor performance in Jeddah, but signs of improvement. But I think again they're showing more signs of improvement this weekend. And do we want them in our fantasy teams? Probably not yet, I would say. There is possibility as like an enabler if you want to pack in like both Ocon and Alonso. Maybe if you want to go like Stream Alpine, then to afford that, maybe you want to drop down someone like Carlos Sainz to Lando Norris to save you that extra million or so that you'd probably need to do that. But for me, I'm going to be avoiding the McLarens for the time being. I just think they need to prove their worth to us as fantasy managers before we really get any further. Bottas looking strong again, P10 here and then up to P7, pretty consistently beating his teammate down here in P15, so we can expect good things from Bottas this weekend. Looking forward to seeing what he can do around this track. I think he was the last winner here in 2019, the last race that was held here. Bottas won the race, so he knows the track inside out, even though it's been altered slightly on this occasion. But I think Bottas is still a really good shout, offering really good value. Yeah, I'm happy with Bottas. One other thing, again, Albon. If you still need like a cheap enabler, potentially Albon is your man to go for. He's consistently beating Latifi in the first two races. He's consistently beating him here by quite a margin, 2 tenths there, 4 tenths there. Albon could be like that really cheap enabler as well if you need to go down that road. Now, another kind of surprise for me is the Haas boys. Kevin Magnussen here, P18 and P16. Do we get rid of Kevin Magnussen this week? And I'll be showing you my team in a minute, where my likely team doesn't involve Magnussen or any Haas drivers at all. That is mostly based off FP1, FP2 at the moment. We'd see what happens in FP3 and see what the teams are saying, etc., etc. But at the moment, not impressing. K-Mag had some illness, so he missed like the media sessions, but he did get out on track and not super competitive. So although he's been offering supreme value so far this season, is this the race where Magnussen doesn't live up to the hype? So yeah, we'll have a look at my team in a second to see if he survives the chop or not. And someone else who not impressed me very much are the AlphaTauris. Pierre Gasly down here in 14th and 9th. Remember, if you remember back to my last video, we looked at how consistent Gasly was. I know this is only based off 2 races, so you can't read too much into it, but he averaged P10 in the practice and he came P10. We look at Jeddah, he averaged 8th, came 9th, so very consistent in the first 2 races. If that consistency continues, he's looking at P14 here, P9, so we've currently got an average of around about P11, P12. So if he is going to maintain that consistency, does he even make Q3 this weekend? It'd be interesting to see if Gasly can actually get into Q3. That'd be yeah, quite interesting, as I keep saying. So one to keep an eye on, and probably one to avoid this weekend, but yeah, that's just my opinion. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the summary of like who's up, who's down in FP1, FP2. Like I say, keep an eye on FP3, keep an eye on my community page for when I post my team as to exactly what's going on. But let's move on to my actual team. So if we move back here, let's go back here, discard that. So this is my current team. It's been fiddled about with a lot because I've been wildcarding. I did in the end go for the wildcard, which may or may not be the right decision. I think I've made, since the Saudi Arabia race, I'm up 0.8 million. Not all of that is due to being on the wildcard. It's due to just having like good drivers in the first place. But I've definitely made probably about $500,000 off the wildcard by switching in and out of a couple of drivers. And I'm hoping I can make a couple of extra points over the next 24 hours before the race starts. So if we go into here, I'm going to show you what I think is currently my favourite team. And poor old K-Mag at the moment is going to be getting the chop. Now, I'm not sure, I haven't decided, as I've already discussed, between Ocon and Alonso. Almost certainly, though, one of these drivers is going to be on my team. Let's just, for argument's sake, we'll put Alonso in for now, but it could very well be Ocon. And yeah, that's pretty much it, actually. That is literally the team. So I'm going all in on Ferrari. Ferrari is my constructor, like I've already discussed. Bottas looking strong. Perez just for that little bit of Red Bull cover, because I still think they're going to be strong, and at 17.8 million, he's still offering good value. And Sainz and Leclerc just for, you know, because Ferrari's a good easy turbo driver again on Leclerc. I don't think there's really any need to do anything fancy pants with that. And yeah, Alonso. So I think this is my favourite team at the moment. We'll see how that progresses over the next like 24 hours. Or I say 24 hours at the time of recording this. The race, the qualifying is in like less than that, so I definitely need to make a decision sooner rather than later. But this is my current favourite team. The other option would be, if I want to keep K-Mag, if we scroll down, put K-Mag back in, is to pretty much go back to what I had in Saudi Arabia, where I bring in Max Verstappen, then we can get rid of Perez, and then we can bring in, again, either Ocon or Alonso. So let's go with Ocon for this one, because I've got enough money in the bank. I've got 0.6 in the bank. So this is actually the same team I had in Saudi Arabia. But I am very tempted with the first team of getting rid of Magnussen, but we'll see how FP3 goes. And that's pretty much it. So early start for everyone tomorrow. Be interested to know, are you guys getting up early, or do you need to get up early? Maybe you're in Australia and maybe you're just like loving life right now. I wish I was in Australia. I can see out my window right now lovely grey clouds of the UK. Very jealous of all the people in Australia at the moment. Although that said, is there going to be rain on the Grand Prix? That'd be interesting. But yeah, that kind of sums up my thoughts. Like I say, keep an eye out on the community page. I will endeavour to post it tomorrow morning if I'm not in a mad panic. Let me know what you think. I'm as curious as ever to see what you guys have got and what you guys are thinking in your teams. So thanks very much for watching. Please like, subscribe, keep an eye on my community tab, and I'll see you soon. I'll be back next week for more videos, more analysis, that sort of thing. So yeah, catch you later. Bye bye.